Hi everyone, it's Drake, and today will be another video of some assorted book curiosities, like I had with my books from many places, books from all over the place video that I did not too long ago. So this one specifically is going to be about interesting signatures that I have in books, but it's not going to be valuable signatures in the sense of, like, you know, let's say you have a signed copy of Finnegan's Wake or something like that. That will 10 times the value of the book. So these signatures are not valuable monetarily, but they're valuable in another way. So these signatures are going to be signatures of scholars. And either they're the signatures of the author of the book that I have, or it's a signature of someone who studied the period and then they've signed their own book, as far as like they signed the book they owned. So we'll dive right into it here. And the first one I'm going to show to you is one I found locally. Now that's one of the benefits of living in a university town, is that it's very likely that professors will sell off books, either because they're moving or they just don't need them anymore, or they pass away and their family sells their collection. So this first one here falls probably into one of those categories, but regardless, this is The Singer of Tales by Albert B. Lord. Now this is a book that covers basically how epic poets and oral narrative poets throughout history have composed their works. And Albert B. Lord is one of the main figures reinterpreting how Homer might have composed his works based on generic conventions and kind of a type of improvisation during their performance. And then that happened to be written down. Well, interestingly enough, this is signed by Albert B. Lord from 1989. So there's that. Now it's signed to, it looks like Gregorio. Now, I know there was a fairly famous scholar of Southwest literature and like folk songs and folk tales and things like that named Gregorio or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that would be really cool if this is his copy. But yeah, started off strong with The Singer of Tales, signed by Albert B. Lord. This is published by Harvard University, and this edition came out in 1960, but was certainly reprinted after that. This can't be a 1960 volume. It's too new. All right, so there's that. Now our second one is again another book I found locally, and this is The Tale of an Anklet, an epic of South India. Now this is a great Tamil epic. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it, but this is translated with an introduction and postscript by R. Parthasarathi. This is published by Columbia University Press, and sure enough, this is signed, one of the most beautiful signatures I've ever seen, I will say, by R. Parthasarathi in Austin, Texas, March 24th, 1997. So very, very nice signature there. This is for Bob Hardgrave. Best wishes and many thanks. And I didn't look into who that is, who this is signed to, but yeah. And this will be my reading copy because I was able to find it very decent amount. And then yeah, this is one of the most important epic poems in the world. So, excuse me, very high on my list to read. So there you go. There's number 2. Now number 3, I also found locally. So pretty good luck there. And this is maybe the coolest one out of these 3. So this is the Chutzi, or Chutzu, I'm not really sure how you'd say it exactly, but The Songs of the South by David Hawkes. And this is a Beacon Press edition from, let's see, this is from 1959, first published 1962 as a Beacon paperback. And sure enough, this is signed to Dana Young, a fellow toiler in the vineyard, with respect, David Hawkes. There you go, David Hawkes' signature. Arguably the most important translator of Chinese into English in the 20th century, at least one of them. Partially for this book, but then also partially for his translation of The Story of the Stone, which is currently regarded as the most important work in Chinese literature, I'd say. At least Chinese novel, most important Chinese novel. But yeah, and I got this one for $3.99, signed by David Hawkes. All right, so that's that. And this is the brief explanation of what this is. This is the second oldest collection of Chinese poetry. The oldest one is the, there's a new translation coming out of that one, actually. So this one is from the South, Songs of the South. The other one is in the Confucian Classics. It's translated a variety of ways, but the Book of Odes, the Classic of Poetry, the Book of Songs. It's a variety of translations, but there's a new translation coming out by Edward Shaughnessy that should be out in mid-November, so keep your eye out for that one. But this is the go-to translation of Songs of the South, owned by David Hawkes, and Penguin has a new edition of it. All right, so that's 3 out of 4. What is my fourth one? Well, maybe I saved the best for last. So just recently, for a variety of reasons, partially for the background to Milton and his time, but also partially due to my interest in, you could say, radical politics in Europe in the early modern period, I've been interested in the English Civil War. And I've been looking for a really good history of the English Civil War, really covering the 1640s is mainly the time I'm really interested in. And I found some modern histories of the period that look interesting, but I kept triangulating everything back. So Christopher Hill is one of the major figures of the period, studying the period. He has The World Turned Upside Down. He has studies of Milton's poetry, a variety of other things from the time. And so as I was looking through his work and the bibliographies in the back of his books, I kept finding references to Samuel Rawson Gardiner, who's a British historian from the 19th century and who is known for his really expansive historical study of basically the Jacobean period all the way through, he intended to go through 1660. And I think there's just notes towards the very end because it ends up being 19 volumes, I think, something like that, 18 volumes to cover that time frame. The 10 volumes cover James I, his time frame, and then there are 8 volumes that cover from the 1620s to 1660. And so I was specifically interested in the English Civil War period, and so I ordered a copy, and it's a 4-volume set published in the late 1800s, so like the 1890s into the early 1900s. So this is my 4-volume set here. But the really interesting thing about it, apart from what it is actually, as being a history of the English Civil War, is this was a copy owned by A.L. Rouse that apparently was picked up by him in 1945. So if you're not familiar, A.L. Rouse is a major 20th century scholar of Shakespeare and the Elizabethan period. I think generally the Elizabethan period, but also, I found a lecture on YouTube where he's talking about Shakespeare at, I think it was UCLA back in the 70s. But yeah, A.L. Rouse is a major figure of the period. And it's kind of, incidental interest in the end of a study of the English Civil War, but it is interesting because that was his specialty period. His specialty was the Elizabethan into the period, the monarchy of James I, and then into the Civil War and Restoration. So apart from the fact that this is a history I want to read, it is also pretty interesting that A.L. Rouse owned it and picked it up in 1945. A.L. Rouse also is apparently known as being a kind of a voracious book collector, so this might have been his second or third copy of this work, I'm not sure, but regardless, I thought it was pretty fascinating, and this was the same price as a normal set, so I got away pretty lucky with that. All right, well, pardon my allergies if you made it all the way through. I don't know what's going on, but I had some bad allergies the last couple days. So that's all I have for you today. These 4 different works that were signed by major scholars. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'd love to know if you have any cool scholarly signed copies. In the end, they're probably rarer and less valuable than author signed copies. So anyway, let me know if you have any cool ones. And death is a gang boss.